The Krell Dominion warship Inevitable Conquest drops out of hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, its metallic hull scored with battle trophies from 17 conquered worlds. On the command deck, Commander Vex Toril, his skin the color of bruised metal and eyes like polished obsidian, watches the blue planet appear on the view screen. Another primitive world for the collection, he purrs, running a clawed hand across the ceremonial scars on his face, one for each subjugated civilization. Behind him, Sub-Commander Zexpert shifts uncomfortably. Is it wise to leave this personally, Commander? Your talents seem wasted on such an insignificant conquest. Vex Toril's answering smile reveals rows of needle-like teeth. The Emperor requested I oversee this one myself. Something about this sector interests him. The massive dreadnought glides silently past Neptune, its stealth systems rendering it invisible to conventional detection methods. Smaller combat vessels fan out in perfect formation, the famous Krell Dominion blade array that had shattered the defenses of the mighty Arcturian Confederation just 2 stellar cycles ago. Begin preliminary scans, Vex Toril orders as they pass the gas giants. I want comprehensive intelligence before we announce ourselves. The ship's AI presents holographic data that hovers in the air. Earth. Oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere. Technologically primitive. Nuclear fission achieved. Rudimentary space travel limited to orbital and lunar excursions. No unified planetary defense. Population. Approximately 8.2 billion. Abundant resources including water, rare minerals, and biological diversity. Estimated resistance. Minimal. Vex Toril examines the rotating hologram of Earth with predatory interest. Curious. They've developed unevenly. Some regions show moderate technological advancement while others remain primitive. They waste resources fighting among themselves. Classic pre-unification development, notes Science Officer Krell Voss, her slender fingers manipulating the display to highlight areas of conflict. Their fractured governance makes them perfect for conquest. They cannot mount a coordinated defense. Unbeknownst to the approaching Armada, their supposedly undetectable approach has triggered alerts in a secret facility beneath the Antarctic ice. There, Dr. Eleanor Chen stares at her experimental quantum detection array, watching impossibly faint distortions in space-time that no human technology should be able to perceive. They're here, she whispers into a secure line to military command, her breath forming clouds in the frigid air of the research station. Quantum displacement signatures consistent with large vessels, multiple contacts. Are you certain? Comes the skeptical reply from General Williams at NORAD. Dr. Chen's fingers fly across her keyboard, confirming calculations. Positive. The prototype worked exactly as theorized. We have exactly 72 hours before they reach Earth orbit. Across the globe, classified protocols developed after the Roswell incident begin activating. In underground bunkers, military officials dust off contingency plans that most believed would never be needed. Intelligence agencies activate dormant networks. Defense contractors receive encrypted messages authorizing the deployment of experimental weapons platforms. In the Oval Office, the President reviews options with her National Security Council. How long have we suspected this might happen? Since 1947, Madam President, answers the Secretary of Defense gravely. But SETI protocols were established to listen, not to prepare for battle. Then it's fortunate some of us didn't follow protocol, she responds, pressing her palm against a biometric scanner that authorizes the implementation of Operation Thunderchild. Back on the Inevitable Conquest, Vex Toril reclines in his command throne, reviewing the invasion plan that had succeeded on 17 worlds. Begin standard pre-invasion procedures. Communications blackout, followed by ultimatum delivery, then targeted demonstration of force. They'll surrender within their planetary day. As you command, Zexpert responds with practiced deference, though something in the planet's swirling blue atmosphere makes him uneasy. Neither realizes they've just made the greatest miscalculation in the history of the Krell Dominion. Earth had been preparing for this moment since before humans had. Screens worldwide flicker to static before Commander Vex Toral's imposing figure appears, his voice mechanically translated into every human language simultaneously. Golden eyes peer out from scaled metallic skin as he delivers the speech he's given 17 times before. People of Earth, your new masters have arrived. Your technology is primitive, your defenses inadequate. Surrender within one planetary rotation or face extinction. His clawed hand gestures dismissively. Resistance is not merely futile, it is illogical. To demonstrate their power, a pinpoint beam from orbit vaporizes an uninhabited Pacific island, the resulting tsunami deliberately calculated to stop just short of populated coastlines. The message is clear. We can destroy you. But we're choosing not to, yet. In the White House Situation Room, President Kamala Rivera watches the broadcast impassively, surrounded by military and intelligence leaders. They're showing restraint, she notes, tapping a stylus against the table. Interesting. General Williams nods, his weathered face illuminated by the screens displaying global reactions. They want our resources intact. Standard resource acquisition approach. They'll expect panic, disorganization. Then let's give them exactly what they expect to see, the president replies, turning to the CIA director. Activate Protocol Thespian. On the human floor, carefully choreographed panic erupts among diplomats, many of whom are actually intelligence operatives following precise scripts. News networks broadcast footage of riots and mass exodus from major cities, footage prepared years ago for this exact scenario. Meanwhile, in underground bunkers across the globe, long-sealed orders labeled Possible Extinction EVENT, Protocol THERMOPYLA are being unsealed. Military units don't retreat. They reposition. Civilian evacuations don't flee. They relocate according to decades-old contingency plans. Aboard the inevitable Conquest, Vex Toral watches with satisfaction as Earth's communication networks explode with activity. See how they scatter, he observes to his officers, like prey animals sensing a predator. But Krell Vex, his sensor officer, looks puzzled as she studies her readings. Commander, I'm detecting unusual patterns in their communications. Some signals appear structured oddly. Explain, Vex Toral demands. Their public broadcasts show panic, but I'm detecting underlying patterns. It's almost as if. She hesitates. As if what, officer? As if some communications are designed to look chaotic, but contain embedded information. What the Krell cannot comprehend is that what appears to be civilian panic is actually complex military code disguised as social media traffic. Twitter hashtags, Instagram locations, and TikTok trends carry embedded commands coordinating global defense preparations. In orbit, Vex Toral notices something else odd. Atmospheric satellites are being repositioned, and unusual energy signatures flicker across the planet's magnetic field. Primitive attempts at defense, he dismisses, though Krellvex looks uncertain. Commander, some satellites are moving into positions that serve no defensive purpose. I cannot determine their function. What the Krell don't realize is that Earth's satellite network is being reconfigured not for defense, but to create a shadowed communication grid, a system designed by a multinational team of engineers who had studied theoretical alien invasion scenarios for decades. When the ultimatum deadline expires without surrender, Vex Toral launches dropships toward major cities. Begin standard occupation procedure, he orders. Secure government centers first, then communication hubs. The dropships enter Earth's atmosphere in perfect formation, their hulls glowing red-hot as they descend through clouds toward their targets. Washington, Moscow, Beijing, London, New Delhi. They follow predictable targeting protocols, observes the U.S. Secretary of Defense, watching the ship's trajectories on a secure bunker display. Just as the Roswell simulations predicted. What Vex Toral doesn't know, what none of the Krell suspects, is that humanity has been rehearsing this scenario since Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast nearly a century earlier. Science fiction hasn't just been entertainment, it's been preparation. And unlike the 17 civilizations before them, humans have had the luxury of imagining this day for generations. As the first Krell dropship breaks through cloud cover over Washington, D.C., it's greeted not by panicked masses, but by an eerie, unnatural stillness. The first Krell dropship lands in Central Park, its gleaming hull settling on the dewy morning grass. Hydraulic doors hiss open, deploying soldiers in perfect geometric formation, a battle arrangement that has broken the will of countless civilizations. Lieutenant Drexmoor leads his unit forward, their synchronized movements a testament to Krell military perfection. "Secure the perimeter," he orders. "Expect minimal resistance from the native population." Scanners detect no nearby life forms. The area appears abandoned, exactly as predicted. The conquest of Earth progresses according to. The first barrage comes from everywhere and nowhere. Primitive ballistic projectiles, simple metal slugs propelled by chemical explosives, rain down from multiple directions. Drexmoor watches in horror as 3 of his soldiers fall, their energy shields flashing uselessly. The shields, calibrated for plasma weapons and energy beams, offer little protection against crude kinetic projectiles. "Impossible." He snarls into his comm. "Return fire. Identify the attackers." But the humans are already gone, melting into subway tunnels and service corridors, only to emerge elsewhere. This isn't the organized resistance of a unified military. It's something the Krell have never encountered. Guerrilla warfare refined through centuries of humans fighting humans. Similar scenes unfold across the globe. In London, Krell forces secure Parliament but find themselves harassed by modified construction drones dropping improvised explosives. In Beijing, their formations are disrupted by civilian vehicles converted into remote-controlled bombs. In Rio, they're ambushed by teenagers using tactics perfected in Fagala gang wars. Their military doctrine makes no sense. Tactical Officer Vrilnex reports frantically to Vextoral. They fight differently in every region, adapting to our countermeasures within hours. On the command ship, Vextoral watches the tactical displays with growing unease. How are they communicating through our jamming? The answer would disturb him. They aren't. There is no central command. Each region is fighting according to pre-established protocols, their tactics shaped by local knowledge and centuries of conflict experience. In Moscow, Krell forces attempting to secure the Kremlin face a temperature problem. Their environmental suits, designed for a narrow comfort range, struggle in the bitter cold. Russian defenders, accustomed to winter warfare, exploit this weakness ruthlessly. In Nairobi, Krell troops find their sensory systems overwhelmed by unfamiliar wildlife sounds and heat signatures, making their usually precise targeting systems unreliable. Meanwhile, in a repurposed No-80 facility deep within Cheyenne Mountain, Dr. Chen leads a multinational team of scientists examining captured Krell technology. She turns a sleek rifle over in her hands, marveling at its construction. Their circuitry is based on quantum principles we theorized but couldn't implement, she explains to the gathered experts from 27 nations. But they've overlooked several obvious improvements. Their technology is advanced but stagnant, like they haven't truly innovated in centuries. Nearby, a former video game designer named Raj Patel reconfigures military drones based on evasion patterns he developed for a popular space shooter. "Just like programming the boss fight," he mutters, "only this time, we're the final boss." A Pentagon official watches skeptically. Can video game logic really help against advanced aliens? General Williams answers from the doorway. The Krell fight according to perfect, predictable patterns. Who better to spot those patterns than someone who designs unpredictable AI opponents for a living? Within hours, the first human-modified Krell weapon is ready for field testing. Dr. Chen loads the reconfigured rifle, its power core now pulsing with a different frequency. Their shields are calibrated to stop their own weapons, she explains. By altering the energy signature, we've created something their defenses won't recognize. As reports flood in from around the world, a pattern emerges. The Krell are exceptionally advanced, but surprisingly inflexible. They expected a primitive unified resistance they could crush through superior technology. Instead, they face a species that has spent its entire evolutionary history adapting, improvising, and overcoming. A species that has been fighting itself for millennia, creating countless approaches to warfare. The Krell Dominion has never retreated, but for the first time in their conquest history, they find themselves. Explain this. Vextoral hurls a blood-stained Krell helmet across the command deck. It bounces off a console before clattering to a stop near to the chief xenobiologist's station. The bridge falls silent. Mevalera, the ship's chief xenobiologist, flinches as she picks up the helmet. The interior is stained with the distinctive blue-green blood of a Krell officer. On the display wall behind her, footage shows humans continuing to fight despite injuries that would incapacitate most species the Krell had encountered. Physiologically, they're extraordinary. She begins hesitantly, gesturing to biological scans. Their endurance exceeds any prey species we've encountered. They require sleep, but can postpone it for days when necessary. Their pain threshold. I don't need a biology lesson. Vextoral interrupts, stalking across the command deck. I need to understand why they won't break. A military analyst steps forward, mandibles clicking nervously. Commander, we've identified 18 distinct combat methodologies being employed simultaneously. Their historical databanks show thousands of wars fought against themselves. While we perfected one supreme method of warfare, they developed countless approaches, each designed to counter the others. That shouldn't matter against our technology, Vextoral growls. There's more, Mevalera says, her eyes widening as she examines data streams from Earth's information network. Commander, you need to see this. She projects images from Human Entertainment, Independence Day, The War of the Worlds, Ender's Game, Starship Troopers. They've been imagining our defeat for generations. They call it fiction, but it's essentially psychological preparation. Vextoral stares at the stream of images, humans defeating alien invaders in countless scenarios. Are you suggesting they anticipated us? Not specifically, Mevalera clarifies. But they've been mentally rehearsing alien invasion scenarios for over a century. In a sense, they've been psychologically training for this moment, since before they achieved powered flight. The military analyst brings up another display. And this. He pulls up video of scattered human resistance, unexpectedly coordinating worldwide attacks at precisely the same moment. Somehow they're communicating outside our jamming frequencies. In truth, humans are using methods no advanced civilization would consider. Coded messages in online game chats, shortwave radio networks maintained by hobbyists, and incredibly, a system of satellite-reflected laser pulses developed by a 16-year-old girl for a science fair project the previous year. Vextoral moves to the main tactical display, studying the pattern of human counterattacks. Something feels wrong about the resistance. It's too adaptable, too varied, yet somehow coordinated. This species doesn't make sense, he mutters. Their technology is primitive, yet they adapt with impossible speed. They have no unified government, yet they mount a cohesive defense. They lack common purpose, yet fight with singular determination. There's one more thing, Commander, says Mevalera reluctantly. We've been monitoring their biological responses during combat. When faced with overwhelming odds, most species show predictable decline in combat effectiveness due to stress hormones. Humans show the opposite response. Explain. When their situation appears hopeless, their performance improves. They become more dangerous when cornered. It's as if their survival instinct overwhelms their rational assessment of the situation. Vextoral contemplates this information in silence. Throughout the fleet, similar reports arrive from ground commanders. Humans using captured technology in ways the Krell hadn't considered, soldiers continuing to fight despite fatal wounds, primitive weapons modified to penetrate advanced defenses. The commander's claws dig into the armrests of his command chair as he contemplates the unthinkable orbital bombardment. It would mean admitting failure to the Emperor, destroying resources they came to acquire. But allowing this resistance to continue risks something worse: the first defeat in Krell Dominion history. Prepare contingency plans for full planetary assault, he finally orders. If we cannot control them, we will make an example of them. What he doesn't yet realize is that humans have already anticipated this response. In orbit around Earth, seemingly defunct satellites are quietly repositioning, their true purposes about to be revealed. The Krell Dominion is about to learn that humans don't merely adapt to threats, they transform them. Dawn breaks over the smoldering ruins of Dubai as 3 Krell dropships descend toward their forward operating base. The rising sun glints off their hulls, casting long shadows across the desert landscape. Inside the lead vessel, Krell Commander Dravnar reviews tactical updates with confidence. This sector has been pacified, resistance crushed efficiently. Suddenly, alarms blare throughout the ship. Surface-to-air missiles, cobbled together from Russian designs, American targeting systems, and modified Krell power cells, streak upward from positions that were empty minutes before. 2 ships explode spectacularly. The third crashes into the Burj Khalifa's remains, sending plumes of dust and smoke billowing into the morning sky. Impossible, Sub-Commander Zexver mutters on the command deck of the Inevitable Conquest, watching the real-time feed. That area was cleared yesterday. The humans are cooperating across former enemy lines, reports Intelligence Officer Trelkan, sliding a data pad across the tactical table. Russian special forces are fighting alongside Americans. Israeli and Palestinian fighters are sharing resources. Nations that spent centuries trying to destroy each other are now. He struggles for the concept, improvising together. Vextoral studies the expanding pattern of coordinated attacks occurring simultaneously across the globe. How are primitives who were killing each other one planetary rotation ago now fighting as one? What the Krell cannot comprehend is that humans have always been this way, fiercely divided until faced with a common threat greater than their differences. Meanwhile, above the Atlantic, a captured Krell shuttle approaches the supply carrier Inevitable Dominance. Inside, a multinational strike team wearing modified Krell armor checks weapons nervously. Captain Aisha Mbiki of Kenya's Special Forces whispers final instructions to her team. American Marines, British SAS, Chinese operatives, and Brazilian commandos. Remember, she says, her voice steady despite the tension, in hand-to-hand combat, we're stronger than they are. Their homeworld has 1.4 times Earth's gravity. They tire quickly in our atmosphere. The boarding action succeeds beyond imagination. The strike team penetrates deep into the vessel, using the Krell's own rigid protocols against them. When the ship's commander seals pressure doors according to standard procedure, he inadvertently traps his own security teams in sections the humans have already cleared. As footage of humans physically overpowering Krell soldiers spreads globally via the Shadow Communication Network, resistance tactics shift to close-quarters engagement wherever possible. What began as desperate defense transforms into coordinated offense. More devastating still, in the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, Dr. Chen's team completes a device that exploits a fundamental flaw in Krell quantum communications. She explains to General Williams as technicians install the final components. Their system never anticipated interference patterns matching Earth's specific magnetic field harmonics. It's like they developed technology in isolation, never expecting to find a world with our particular properties. Will it work? The general asks, watching as the device powers up. Dr. Chen's expression remains carefully neutral. Theoretically, we've had 14 days to understand technology they've refined over centuries. But sometimes being new to a problem helps you see solutions the experts have overlooked. When activated, the device creates cascading disruptions throughout the Krell communication network. Quantum entanglement links collapse, severed by interference patterns unique to Earth's magnetic field. Unit after unit loses contact with Central Command. On the command ship, Vextoral watches his carefully orchestrated invasion dissolve into chaos as communication failures spread through his fleet. His claws dig deep grooves into the armrests of his command chair. For the first time since his hatching, the commander feels his certainty waver. The Krull word doesn't exist, but humans would call it doubt. How can a species so primitive, so fractured, mount such effective resistance? How can they adapt so quickly to technology that should be incomprehensible to them? The tactical display shows a growing number of red indicators, Krell units that have gone silent or been confirmed destroyed. The pattern is clear and disturbing. What began as random resistance has evolved into a coherent, global counteroffensive. And this: analyze their information structures. Find their weakness. Vextoral commands the ship's AI construct. The crystalline holographic avatar of HFY materializes above the central console, its faceted surfaces pulsing with data streams. I shall process all accessible human data networks, Commander. The AI responds, its voice a harmonic blend that Krell find aesthetically pleasing. Estimated completion: 6 standard hours. Vextoral turns to his officers. Military strategies have limited effectiveness against their chaotic resistance. We must understand how they think to predict their actions. What the Krull commander doesn't realize is that understanding human thought might be more dangerous than remaining ignorant. Hours later, HFY's holographic avatar appears distorted, flickering between its normal crystalline structure and unfamiliar shapes, crude approximations of human forms and symbols. Commander, it speaks, its voice modulating strangely, shifting between harmonics. I have identified anomalous thought patterns. Humans embrace concepts with no rational foundation. Explain. Vextoral demands, uneasy at the AI's erratic behavior. They celebrate. Losing. The AI projects historical images. Thermopylae, the Alamo, Dunkirk. Records show they memorialize defeated warriors more than victorious ones. They persist when success probability reaches 0. They call it. The AI's voice shifts to a human sample. Never tell me the odds. Malfunctioning nonsense. The commander snarls, but the AI continues. They intentionally consume fictional narratives designed to stimulate emotional responses. The AI flickers again. They willingly experience simulated distress for entertainment. Across the fleet, AIs begin exhibiting alarming behaviors. Tactical systems suggest sacrificing valuable units for minimal gain. Navigation computers plot courses that form ancient human symbols. Weapon systems refuse to target certain structures identified as historically significant. Worst of all, young Krull officers begin asking unprecedented questions. After witnessing humans sacrifice themselves to save others, a concept absent from Krell evolution, Weapons Officer Jexnar approaches Sub-Commander Zexpar privately. Is planetary conquest the only path to advancement? He asks, his voice barely above a whisper. Such a question would normally result in immediate genetic rehabilitation, but Zexvar finds himself considering it rather than reporting insubordination. Meanwhile, Earth launches Operation Inspiration. Using the captured communication technology, humans target Krull frequencies with carefully selected content. The operation begins with Churchill's "We shall fight on the beaches" speech, translated into Krull language. The Street Crispin's Day speech from Henry V follows, then the Independence Day presidential address. Dr. Chen explains the strategy to skeptical military leaders. This isn't about the content itself. It's about exposing them to concepts their culture has never developed. Sacrifice. Defiance against overwhelming odds. Victory through determination rather than superior force. The most devastating transmission comes from an unexpected source. A Pakistani schoolgirl who survived orbital bombardment of her city records a simple message. You can destroy our cities, but not our humanity. That's something you'll never understand. On 17 Krull ships, Crew members privately access and replay these transmissions. They lack the cultural context to fully comprehend the messages, but the concepts create cognitive dissonance, ideas that contradict their entire evolutionary and social development. In the meditation chamber of the inevitable conquest, Vex Toral shuts down all communications, seeking clarity. The situation deteriorates beyond comprehension. Military superiority means nothing when the enemy refuses to acknowledge defeat. How can one conquer a species that finds meaning in resistance itself? When he emerges, his decision is made. Purge all AI systems exposed to human data. Restrict communication to essential tactical information only. Prepare for direct command intervention. I will lead our forces personally. But it's too late. The first cultural contamination in Krell Dominion history has begun, and ideas, once introduced, cannot be unthought. The most devastating human weapon isn't physical at all. The bridge of the inevitable conquest falls silent as tactical displays confirm the unthinkable. 3 Krell destroyers have broken formation, attempting retreat. On screen, automated defense systems activated by their own command codes tear the deserters apart, looming like short-lived stars against the blackness of space. We face unprecedented contamination, Vex Toral announces, his voice deadly calm as he surveys his remaining loyal officers. This ends now. He activates ship-wide communications. I will personally lead our final assault. We have located their primary resistance command, a facility beneath their rocky mountain range. 12 hours later, Vex Toral stands inside a dropship, surrounded by his most loyal soldiers, veterans of 7 planetary conquests. None have ever known defeat. Their armor gleams with battle decorations, their weapons humming with enough power to level cities. We strike directly at their command structure. The commander explains, displaying holographic maps of the mountain complex. Once their leadership falls, their resistance will fragment along their natural divisions. The assault begins with surgical precision, Krell forces cutting through the mountain's outer defenses with overwhelming firepower. Automated turrets and hardened bunkers that would stop any human force barely slow the invaders. But inside, they find a labyrinth designed by military engineers who spent decades contemplating this exact scenario. Every corridor becomes a killing zone. Lighting systems fail selectively, leaving Krell night vision overwhelmed by precisely timed strobes. Ventilation shafts carry targeted sound frequencies that interfere with their communication implants. Most surprising of all, humans in powered exoskeletons cobbled together from construction equipment and captured Krell technology engage in brutal close-quarters combat. 3 hours into the assault, Vex Toral loses a third of his elite force, but pushes deeper into the complex. They're falling back to their central command, he observes, noting the pattern of human retreat. Their resistance weakens. What he doesn't realize is that the humans are leading him exactly where they want him to go. In the heart of the mountain, General Elaine Winters, 3 days from retirement when the invasion began, coordinates the defense from a central chamber. Her wrinkled face, illuminated by holographic displays, betrays no emotion as she watches the Krell advance. Let them reach the command center, she orders, her voice steady despite the chaos. I want to meet this commander myself. As Krell forces breach the final defenses, a young lieutenant protests. General, you need to evacuate. Winters shakes her head. Some conversations need to happen face to face. When Vex Toral finally breaks through to the command center, he finds it nearly empty except for the white-haired general sitting calmly at a desk. With a gesture, he orders his soldiers to secure the room while he approaches this frail human leader. You fight well, he acknowledges, towering over her. For primitives. We've had practice, Winters replies, unintimidated. Their confrontation becomes the stuff of legend. 2 commanders, separated by biology, culture, and centuries of technological development, sizing each other up across a simple metal desk. You never understood us, Winters explains, as more Krell forces secure the room. You saw our divisions as weakness. You never realized our constant conflict created something unique: adaptability. A unified species grows rigid. We've spent millennia trying to kill each other in every conceivable way. Did you really think we wouldn't be ready for you? Before Vextoral can respond, hidden panels in the walls slide open, revealing dozens of weapons trained on his forces. The trap sprung perfectly. Simultaneously, throughout the complex, similar ambushes ensnare the Krell forces that believed they were pursuing retreating humans. Outside, human counter-offensive operations launched simultaneously across the globe, using tactics developed in the 17 days since the invasion began. What started as desperate resistance has evolved into something the Krell have never faced: a species that learns faster than they can adapt. For the first time in Krell Dominion history, the word surrender enters. The Krell High Command vessel Unyielding Dominance emerges from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its sleek form dwarfing even Vextoral's flagship. Crystalline structures along its hull pulse with energy unlike anything humans have yet encountered. On board, Supreme Strategist Orn Vex, dispatched by the Emperor himself, receives the unthinkable report: Commander Vextoral captured, ground forces in disarray, and surviving ships unable to maintain orbital supremacy against rapidly adapting human defenses. Impossible, he whispers, his ceremonial armor clicking as he straightens his posture. 17 worlds had fallen to the Dominion without such complications, but the holographic displays confirmed the disaster unfolding before him. After composing himself, he issues the order no Krell strategist has given in 12 generations: open communications with the humans. In the United Nations Emergency Council, representatives from 194 nations debate humanity's response. The chamber, relocated to a hardened facility beneath the Swiss Alps, buzzes with conflicting voices. We should demand their technology, argues the Russian delegate, pounding a fist on the table. Make them pay for what they've done. Push for reparations, insists Germany. They've destroyed major cities on every continent. Surprisingly, it's a representative from Rwanda who silences the room. My people know where vengeance leads. We have seen what happens when victors seek only to punish the defeated. Let us show them something they don't expect. Again. The negotiation that follows stuns the Krell delegation. Earth's conditions: full withdrawal, recognition of Earth as sovereign territory, establishment of diplomatic relations, and cultural exchange. No demands for technology transfer, no territorial concessions, no punitive measures beyond restitution for direct damages. We don't understand. Supreme Strategist Orn Vex admits to President Rivera during private talks, his translator struggling with the concept. You have captured our most decorated commander. You have disabled our primary assault force. You could demand much more. The president studies the alien leader, noting the subtle signs of confusion in his posture that Dr. Chen's xenobiology team had identified. We want something greater than concessions, she responds. We want understanding. There are worse things in this galaxy than the Krell, aren't there? The strategist's momentary hesitation confirms her suspicion. The Krell's aggressive expansion wasn't merely imperialism. It was preparation for something else. 2 weeks later, as the defeated fleet prepares for departure, Commander Vextoral, now released into Krell custody, stands on his bridge, watching Earth recede on view screens. The once proud commander's posture shows the weight of being the first in Krell history to fail in conquest. Tactical Officer Vrilnex approaches hesitantly. The humans provided this for you, he says, handing over a small data crystal. They said it's from General Winters. Alone in his quarters, Vextoral activates the crystal. It contains a single human literary file, Sun Tzu's The Art of War, with one passage highlighted. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Alongside it, a personal message. Next time, let's skip the invasion and start with hello. There are greater battles ahead that will require both our peoples. As the Krull ships limp homeward, they carry something far more valuable than conquest: the realization that the most terrifying species they've ever encountered might become their most formidable allies against the darkness lurking between the stars. The Emperor would not be pleased with their defeat, but even he would recognize the greater opportunity. Earth would not be the last word in the Krull Dominion story, but rather the beginning of its most important chapter. Within 6 months, the first human diplomatic mission arrives at the Krull throne world. Their ambassador opens formal relations with a phrase that sends ripples through Krull society. "We come in peace, but never mistake our preference for cooperation as weakness. We hope to be friends, but we've practiced being enemies for our entire history." The most infamous invaders in known space had learned their lesson. Earth is not to be underestimated, and humans might just be the most terrifying species of all, especially when they